So I get asked often, how'd you guys come up with the name Jasper Dynamic? And since I think it's kind of a cool story, I thought I'd share it with you. You know, when any company is getting started, one of the most important decisions you have to make is, well, what the heck are you going to call your company? What's the company name going to be? So, I'm really proud of my Italian heritage. And so Luann and I, my wife, when we decided to start this company, we said, well, hey, we could use my last name, which is Capra. And, it's kind of a cool name. And I often get asked, hey, are you related to the famous director Frank Capra, from It's a Wonderful Life? And I'm not. But when I lived in Los Angeles growing up down there, when I was out at, say, a fancy restaurant, and I was asked by the maitre d', hey, you related to Frank Capra? It's like, oh yeah, that was my great uncle Frank. And of course, I'd be taken to the best seat in the house, in the restaurant. So that was kind of cool. But no, I am not related to Frank Capra. Although you ask my dad, I'll say Al Capra is related. But anyway, so we said, hey, maybe we could do, say, Capra Consulting. And don't get me wrong, consulting, it's good, it's clear, it's concise, but it seems to be kind of common in company names. And I guess for us, we wanted something to stand out a little bit more. So we said, well, how about Capra Solutions? Again, it's pretty concise. We certainly provide solutions to businesses, but I guess for us, we just wanted something that had a little bit more depth and a little bit more meaning. That's just something for us. It's nothing against people who use solutions in their company name, but for us, we wanted something just a little deeper than that. So, we thought, and just nothing really kind of came to mind. Nothing was like, we're feeling that name. So we decided to shelve that and just continued, all right, let's, maybe something will come along, and maybe that right name will just, come along. And sure enough, it did, or should I say, he did. Now, Luann and I, we had been wanting to, we were talking about adopting a dog for quite a while, actually a handful of years. I'd grown up with dogs my whole life, so I've been around them I've had so many dogs, from a little tiny miniature dachshund to a big, huge 200-pound Newfoundland. But anyway, it had been a while since I had had a dog, and Luann had never had a dog before. So I said two things. One, if we're going to get a dog, I want to adopt a dog. I think there's something like 3 or 4 million dogs that are in shelters across the U.S., and it really saddens me that there's all these wonderful animals out there that need homes. So I said, if we're going to get a dog, I want us to adopt a dog, and she agreed. And then I said to her, but we have to understand, our lifestyles, we like to travel a lot, and one of our favorite places to go is Cancun. And it's not like you can readily take your dog, to Cancun and travel. And I don't want to be those people that just board a dog, and you can't rely on other people to watch your dog for you. So I said, we really have to make sure that our lifestyles were ready for a dog, to give that dog a great home. And so for a while there, we're like, we're just not ready to give up that spontaneous lifestyle of traveling. And so we really didn't. But Luann still had taken, a lot of time and gone online to various, I think Pet Finder is one of them, a lot of different adoption agencies online for dogs. Probably looked over literally 1,000 dogs or more over the years. So anyway, we were having this pretty meaningful conversation one day, and that conversation was prompted by a conversation we literally just had the night before with a couple friend of ours, and it was talking about just kind of dogs in general. So Luann and I were at home, and she's looking online, and she came across this really adorable tan and white dog. He had a little bow tie on, really cute. Now let me go back a little bit. What Luann wanted always, though, was a corgi. So as she said, because of their cute butts. And if you've ever seen a corgi butt, it's hard to deny they got some of the cutest butts. For me, I always kind of wanted a pit bull breed. It doesn't have to necessarily be a pit bull, but like they have American bullies. There's a lot of different pit bull breeds. And the reason for that is because I feel like they're such a misunderstood breed of dog. It's usually not the dog breed that's a problem, it's usually the owners. So I think what those type of animals need is just great pet parents. So I'd always wanted those, but I guess for us, and Loanne always wanted a dog that would be more of a lap dog. So the pit bull breed may be a little too big for us, so we're trying to look at maybe corgis. And then also we had been binge watching the show Frasier, and if you've ever seen that show, Frasier, they have the most adorable, very playful Jack Russell Terrier named Eddie on the show, and she really fell for that dog too. So we thought, well, maybe a corgi, maybe a Jack Russell Terrier. But honestly, at the end of the day, as long as the dog fit into, say, the size range we were looking for, it was really more about just finding a dog, boy or girl, really any breed, any mix, didn't have to be a purebred, just a dog that just needed to get home, that took to us and we took to them. You know, the chemistry is real important. So anyway, on that particular day, which kind of came out of nowhere, it had probably been months since Loanne had looked for a dog, she came across this dog, this little tan and white dog, like I said, little bow tie, so cute. And upon further review, they listed the dog as a Corgi Jack Russell Terrier mix. A Pro-Jack apparently is what they call that. What are the odds? I mean, what are the odds of finding a dog mixed like that? And his name was Jasper. So kind of fell in love immediately, and we filled out the online application, which is required when you're adopting a dog. It's from a humane shelter. And so we filled it out, real excited. It's the first time we had ever actually gone to that next step of filling out an application to adopt a dog. So this was on a Saturday. The very next day, Sunday, we were out having lunch near downtown Sacramento, and we got the call from a lady at the humane shelter about our application. And she asked us some questions and a little bit of an interview, if you will, over the phone. And she said, well, how would we feel about maybe coming down during the week to come meet Jasper? And Loanne and I, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, how about today? You know, no time like the present. You know, the thing about an adopted dog is once they're gone, they're gone. So, and we just, I don't know how to describe it. We felt that there was something there. It was almost like it was meant to be. So we drove the 45 minutes down to Lodi. And when we got there, the lady came out with Jasper in tow, very excited, big old smile on his face. He was on his leash. And we sat down on the concrete sidewalk there, and per the suggestion of the lady over the phone, we stopped at Burger King and got a flame-broiled Whopper patty, no salt. And we sat there and tore pieces of the hamburger and hand-fed Jasper, and he was just so freaking cute. His tail wagging, and he was listed at about 19 pounds, so kind of a smaller dog, but he was a little thin, but he stood taller than I expected. So overall, he had a bigger appearance than I expected. And he seemed to be really enjoying his time with us, but the reality is, you know, was he taking to Loanne and I, or was he taking to us because of that Whopper? So anyway, the lady said, well, hey, would you guys like to take Jasper on a little walk? The three of us can walk with him just along the street there. I said, absolutely, handed the leash to Loanne. And so we started walking him. And as we're walking him, the lady said, so let's give a little bit of Jasper's background. And apparently he had been there for about a month, and he was dropped off by the adult son of the previous owners, which were an older adult couple. And I guess they got him when he was a puppy, and he was actually born all white. So his given name was actually Casper, as in like Casper the Friendly Ghost, for being all white, not Jasper at all. And unfortunately, they just kind of stuck him in the backyard and left him to his own accord. And apparently the first 3 years of his life, he was essentially abandoned to the backyard. They gave him pretty much no attention whatsoever other than the basics of feeding him and giving him water. And if you can see Jasper today, you know, he's just the friendliest, sweetest little animal. And the thought of being outside in, you know, the cold and the extreme heat, you know, this was summertime. So it breaks my heart just to even think about that. So he's basically left outside. So the neglect kind of turned into, they just didn't want him anymore. So the adult son took him, had him for just a little while, and then decided didn't want to keep the dog either, and did the one good thing, which was to surrender him to the Humane Society in Lodi. I'll say the one good thing because according to the people at the shelter, when the guy brought Jasper in, they said based on Jasper's demeanor around him that it was pretty clear that more than likely this adult son physically abused Jasper. So kind of gets my blood boiling just thinking about this because, what kind of a coward abuses any kind of animal, any animal period, but certainly a little small animal like that. But anyway, at least he did the right thing and surrendered Jasper. So anyway, she was trying to tell us all of this. She said it's so important, when prospective adopters are going to adopt a dog or any animal for that matter, it is important to know the history because they certainly know the dog has already felt a loss, felt of abandon, already dropped off. The last thing they want is people to take a dog home. It doesn't work out. They didn't know what they were getting into, and then they bring the dog back. I mean, obviously, they'd rather bring the dog back than not at all, but they always hope that it becomes a forever home situation. So we totally understood and appreciated her honesty with regard that Jasper, had some little bit of issues, neglect and probably physically abuse, along with emotional abuse. And the sad thing is, around Jasper's neck, you can see that there's like a line around it, indicative of they more than likely had a rope or something really tight around his neck, because as he was growing, that area, when you pull back like the fur there, you can see fur didn't grow. I mean, really, really kind of pisses me off, but nonetheless, he was just a sweetie pie to us. Anyway, so we're walking down the street, and this kind of gruffy-looking guy, perhaps he was homeless or something, I don't know, he kind of came out of nowhere, just started to approach us kind of in a fast pace. Jasper jumps out in front of Loanne, he bucks himself up, and he just starts aggressively barking at the guy, like saying, no, you're not coming near us, almost as if protecting Loanne. And so for me, who's been a student of the martial arts for over 30 years, all I could think of when I was looking at this was, I really like this dog. I really like this dog. He doesn't care about his size. He's a tough little guy. So anyway, we went back to the shelter over there, and the lady said, hey, would you like to come into the backyard? And we'll take him off leash, let him roam around, and see how he is with you guys without any sort of outside distractions. And of course, we absolutely did. So we went there, and I had previously told Loanne when we were driving down there, because as I mentioned, Loanne has never had a dog before, and I said, hey, when we go down there, we have to literally just be ourselves. We may fall for him, but if he doesn't take to us, then, as much as that might be a little heartbreaking for us, you either connect or you don't. So I said to her, you really got to understand that. And she goes, of course. She goes, I hope he does connect with us. And of course, I said, me too. And then, the early stages, it seemed like, maybe there was something there. But anyway, went in the backyard. I said to Lana, I'm like, hey, you sit over there, and I'm going to sit over here, literally apart from each other. So she sat on a chair. I was on a bench. And let's see how he is with us individually, because he might take to you and not to me, or vice versa. And again, that's not going to work because, we would be a family of three. So it's important that we all have that chemistry together. So she understood, and she sat down, and so Jasper got off leash, and he just kind of, he kind of sniffed around the perimeter of the back of the shelter over there. Did a lot of sniffing and stopping at the trees, and just kind of almost as if he was doing laps. And he'd occasionally glance over at Loanne, he'd occasionally glance over at me, but didn't seem to really want to show a lot of interest. But I noticed one thing though. As Jasper was doing these laps, his laps started getting closer and closer. So the circle of laps were getting smaller and smaller until all of a sudden Jasper, like if I'm sitting like I'm sitting now, Jasper was probably within arm's reach. I have pretty long arms, so I could have reached out and tried to pet him. But now knowing that he was more than likely physically abused, the last thing I wanted to do was to rush something like that and perhaps scare him. So I, of course I didn't. But since he had gotten so much closer to me, As he went to kind of do another lap, if you will, I decided to take my hand, and I just drooped my arm down like this by my side, let my hand just kind of dangle by there. But at previous I was probably have my arms like this or kind of in my lap, but I decided to put my arm down. Jasper came around, and he came up like right next to my arm. I'm talking like this close to my arm. So at first I didn't do anything, and then I just took like the back of my hand, and I just kind of leaned it into him at first. And then he did the most precious thing ever. It almost kind of gets me a little choked up. He leaned back. He leaned his body into my arm, and so I just kind of like just gently, just along his side, just kind of gave him a little bit of affection. I'm sure he felt, more than just the affection. He felt my warmth. I mean, it's hard to describe why you just would instantly care for an animal, but that's kind of how Loanne and I both felt. And so he just leaned into it, and it's like he had never experienced, warmth and affection like that before. So I trusted my instincts, and I reached my hand up, and with the palm of my hand, I just kind of reached up and just slowly, just kind of pet the back of his head, and he looked up at me like this, as almost as if to say, please don't stop. Man, it's just, like I said, it kind of chokes him up a little bit, because knowing the dog's history, it shows the resiliency of an animal, Anyway, but then he did the most magical thing again. He walked over to Loanne, went right next to her so that she could do the same thing. As if to say, please pet me too, because I like both of you, and I want both of you to know I want to be a part of our family. It was so precious. It's like he made a point to come up to me and a point to come up to Loanne. And now to me, a tough guy, martial artist here, and I'm like full on tears in my eyes, like, oh my God, And so the lady over there is watching, and she was in disbelief. She said, I'm shocked. She was pleasantly shocked. And then she revealed that about a week before, a man came down very interested in Jasper to adopt him. And when he went in to try to pet Jasper bit him. And I don't mean to laugh at that, but Jasper, I guess making it clear that whatever the aura was, whatever the feeling was, Jasper wasn't feeling that person. As like Loanne kind of says, it's because Jasper knew we were coming. Maybe that's the case, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but it really felt like it was meant to be. So anyway, she revealed to us that the reason why his name was changed to Jasper was the director of the humane shelter down there mistakenly on his admission form wrote Jasper instead of Casper. And when it was pointed out to her, she said, you know what? I think this mistake happened for a reason. He's not a Casper. He needs a new name. And it's close enough. And mistakes, this happened for a reason. I think he needs a fresh name and a fresh start. And it was pretty fitting because he doesn't look like a Casper. He's kind of tan and white. Jasper was the way to go. So a week later, we came back and we picked Jasper up. And while we were there getting ready to go, they got a phone call literally right in front of us. And the lady answering the phone, she's like kind of like this, and she's kind of smiling, if you will. And she says, I'm sorry, Jasper is no longer available. In fact, he's about to be on his way home to his forever home. And indeed he was. And it was just fitting, And he came home with us, and he's just been just a blessing. He brings just this warmth and this just unconditional love and just this humor. His personality just sparkles every single day of our lives. So we could not feel more blessed to have Jasper in our lives. So this long story goes into a little bit further as to why, as you can tell now, half of our name is after the dog. So what came first, the company or the dog? Well, we started the process of the company first, but the name came after Jasper. So the name comes after Jasper, and the reason why is this. So we decided to look up, is there a meaning to the name Jasper? And based on our research, it appears that it comes from Persian roots. And what it means is something along the lines of bringer of treasure, or something like that. And it's kind of fitting because Jasper has become our little treasure. So I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, about a month later, we went to go visit my mom, and my mom is just, that's probably why I love animals so much. My mom is just a lover of animals, and that's maybe a story for a different time, all the wonderful animal experiences I've had growing up because of my mom. But my mom is very spiritual, like Luann and myself. We are very spiritual. So my mom gave us what's called a Jasper stone. It's a stone, and it's called a Jasper stone. And so not really knowing what the meaning behind a Jasper stone is, we looked it up. And essentially what a Jasper stone does, it's kind of known as the supreme nurturer. It brings harmony and balance to those who possess the stone. It teaches people to assertively go after things, but not aggressively, because it kind of gives the balance between the yin and yang energies. It provides people positivity and helps reduce stress and negativity. So in the end, what the Jasper stone is all about is bringing harmony and peace, and balance and positivity and strength, and helps us to focus. It is an amazing stone. It's quite exceptional. And so we looked at Jasper and we're like, that's what he's brought to our lives. And so we said, not only do we want that for our lives, but we want it for the lives of our friends, on our family, and absolutely for the people we decide to do business with. And I think in today's world, we need that more than ever. Harmony and balance, to be focused, to have that inner strength and peace. And so we said, okay, well, maybe we have something going on here. And then so what word can we match up with that harmony and balance of Jasper to show not who we are as a company, but who we are as people? And I've always liked the word dynamic, because when you think of a person who's dynamic, they have strength. They have someone who is always looking to progress and to be a positive energy, if you will. And so we're like, there it is, Jasper Dynamic. It's right there in front of us, this little adorable four-legged creature wagging his tail and smiling. There it is. That's the name of our company right there, Jasper Dynamic. And that's why we did it, because of, when you look back, how we hadn't looked for dogs for months. And so out of nowhere, Luann decides to look for a dog. What are the odds that it's a Corgi Jack Russell Terrier mix? What are the odds that a week before Jasper could have been adopted out and he wasn't? There were just so many things that kind of came into play. And then the meaning behind a stone that my mom gave us to welcome Jasper into our family. So that was it. We knew right then and there that we wanted the name of our company to be Jasper Dynamic. So I hope it was a fun story for you, and welcome to our company. And we are Jasper Dynamic.